This AFC West win totals and preview edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast is presented by MyBookie.ag. Sports are back, and MyBookie is now offering a 100% deposit bonus when you use the promo code SGP. That's MyBookie.ag, promo code SGP to play, win, and get paid. We're also brought to you by the leaders in daily fantasy, DraftKings. Download the DraftKings app now and use the promo code SGP to get a shot at millions of dollars in prizes every day this week. That's promo code SGP to get a shot at millions of dollars in prizes every day this week, only at DraftKings. We're also brought to you by Ace Per Head. Ace is the leader in pay per head providers, and they make it super easy to start your own sportsbook. Plus, Ace is offering up to 6 weeks free over at aceperhead.com/SGP. That's aceperhead.com/SGP. Ooh, welcome everyone to the Sports Gambling Podcast. I'm Sean, stacking the money green with my partner in picks, Ryan, Real Money Kramer. What's happening, Kramer Dog?
I'm shaking in my chair, Sean.
Yes. The excitement is here. The football vibes are here. The football energy.
Football.
And he's one of those guys who will get penetration.
In reality, I'm just sweating out a Jason Day to win the first round.
This is pretty good because we're taping this as the first round is ending of the PGA Championship. Awesome PGA Championship podcast. Both our DraftKings lineup looking pretty solid. Of course, Steve, our golf expert, just dropping straight up knowledge bombs, nailing how the course is going to play and lay out. But we're here talking football.
Well, you buried the lead. I got 50 to 1.
Yes, Ryan does have 50 to 1 on Jason Day to take home the first round leader. So when you're listening to this podcast, you will already know whether Ryan is a huge winner or a huge mush.
50 to 1, baby. But we're here to talk about football.
That's a big dog, and this is the first of our NFL divisional previews, and we call them divisional previews, but really we're talking win totals. We're talking whether or not we like them to win the division, how far they're going to go. We break down key departures, key additions.
It's a divisional preview because that's how we group the teams.
Yeah. It's not just like, hey, they're going to be good or it's
Sean, which quarterback in the AFC West is most likely to take that step forward?
We're going to give you actionable information. We're going to give you our picks. Yep. Over under win totals, predictions for the season.
I think we contractually have committed to a one bet per team. I think is what we typically.
Yes, and then we throw out a lock, but we go through each of the 4 divisions. If you're new to the podcast,
I think we even are forced to give you a record.
Yes,
which by the way, we haven't touted it in a while, but the schedule predictor or whatever we call it over on sportsgamblingpodcast.com, where you can run through the schedule, it will give you the records. I was reminded of this today. Shout out to Tyler.
Yeah.
Built that for us. And it's fun to kind of put yourself into a box and make sure you can't have everyone be 12-4 or 4-12.
Yeah. Because a lot of times when you're going through these, you're like 10-6, 10-6, 10-6.
It's so easy to say.
And this kind of actually does the math for you. So if you went through the Chargers schedule, which we're going to do later on this podcast with San Diego's own Justin Decker,
I'm going all in on Trump.
I've heard he's been called a super fan before.
He is a super fan, and so you actually
which
pick the
team
games.
is he the super fan of this year? That's the question. That's my first
question.
We'll
have to find out. Is he still a Chargers fan now that his boy Phillip Rivers has departed? All these questions and much more will be answered on this edition, this first of the 2020 NFL season. Let's break it out. Let's dust it off.
Hello.
You're listening to the AFC West divisional preview presented by MyBookie.ag. All the win totals, all the futures that we're going to be giving out. Of course, you can bet over at MyBookie.ag. Use that promo code SGP to get a 100% deposit bonus. Oh my God. That's right. Deposit $100. You got $200 to bet on these win totals. And normally we don't have this opportunity, but you have golf majors going on right now. You have NBA going on right now. You have the MLB going on right now. It's an avalanche of DGen only opportunity for you guys over at MyBookie.ag. Use that promo code SGP live in-game wagering, which is so fun for these bubble games. Make sure you check them out. MyBookie.ag, of course, the presenting sponsor of the podcast. Highly recommend deposit withdrawal using that sweet cryptocurrency. You know, Ryan, over at mybookie.ag, they have a simple plan. First you play, then you win. Last but not least, you get paid. Joining us on the line to help break down the Denver Broncos, Ian St. Clair, editor and columnist for the Mile High Report and lead writer at Play Colorado. Ian, thanks for calling into the program.
Thanks for having me on. It's always good to be able to talk NFL and Broncos, especially in these crazy times.
Well, fingers crossed, knock on wood, whatever strange anti-jinx, the reverse, whatever life reverse jinx you do. I had a moment. Oh, I'm having a moment right now as I sweat. I'm going to tell everyone who even if they don't care, I'm currently sweating. Jason Day will lead the first round of the PGA Championship, and it's given me this rush back of football. And as I was reading through the West teams today, I was extremely stoked to talk about football, and extremely excited to talk about a team, Sean, that I think we both throughout the early parts of the off season we've really kind of fallen in love with, and that's the Denver Broncos. Yeah,
and they're coming off a 7-9 season last year, 2019. They pushed on their win total of 7. I know I was high on the Broncos, and I felt like they kind of got
hot down the stretch.
They did. They closed it out strong with Locke coming in, going 4-1 as a starter. They were only 4-5 in 1-score games. Usually a good sign that they're going to have a better season the following year when it comes to those 1-score games. But even in that 4-5 in the 1-score games, I feel like they had a couple games there where they got a few bad beats, a couple like missed field goals that could have won them some games. Like they were, even when they had Flacco there early on as the quarterback, there were some opportunities. They kind of left a little meat on the bone there as far as wins. But Ian, what was your takeaway from the 2019 Broncos season?
I think it was a tale of like 3 seasons, because since it went through 3 quarterbacks with Joe Flacco, Brandon Allen, and then thankfully and mercifully Drew Lock steps in and turns into Buzz Lockyer that everyone in Broncos country hopes and prays that he is. But it was one of those bizarre seasons where you had the excitement at the end and then the frustration early on in the season, because you mentioned those games that they dropped early in the season and all those 1-score games against the Chicago Bears,
that Bears game,
Jaguars. When you look at what led to it with those horrible officiating calls, and I'm not one to blame the officials, but those calls were absolutely brutal. And if you take away even those 2 games with the Bears and the Jaguars, the Broncos are a playoff team. And it's so fascinating to think about because of how awful Joe Flacco was. He was anything but elite. Brandon Allen comes in and has his one game where everyone's like, oh, he could be the guy. And everyone who isn't into horrible quarterbacks or late string guys, they realized that it was going to come around eventually for Brandon Allen. I think what it is it finally gives hope to Broncos country.
Yes.
And those, yeah.
And I think Broncos country needs that hope, because Elway came in, and Elway, I love John Elway, but he's also, in a weird way, he's playing with fire, because John Elway,
he's been getting burnt. That's what he's been getting burnt.
But he's in Denver, and he's already won it all. He's already become the man, the myth, the legend in Denver and Colorado. Like, he can't really add to his legacy that much. He can only kind of tarnish it by not doing a great job general managing and kind of just running the team in general. He was able to bring over Peyton Manning, got them that Super Bowl. That gave him another super long window. Like, I don't know what would happen where they would get rid of John Elway. Like, it's John Elway. You can't. He would have to retire.
He's the old guy who summits Everest and trips on the way down. I mean, that's what's happening here. Hopefully, this is something, because you mentioned reasons to be optimistic. The one thing I'll call out, because Sean, I love my numbers, and that I've just been delighted to be back in the Football Outsiders Almanac.
Oh, you love that stuff.
And I remember the Broncos in the same way that you did, man. It felt like they kind of had a couple more wins there. So I was very shocked to see their Pythag wins sitting at 6.9. They weren't the unlucky team I thought I was going to be diving into, which was the first kind of red flag along my Broncos research journey that I went through over the last couple of days. But I do think Elway, for the first time, the optimism is there because finally the quarterback of the future looks like he could be the quarterback of the future. Now, if you hyperanalyze what he did last year, you might find that he was on the right side of a number of coin flips. And things could have gone a lot worse for him, but they didn't.
Yeah.
And we are here, and football is a game, Sean, where we love the cliches, and it doesn't matter how you won the game. Vic Fangio, maybe the most competent coach they have, but Sean, I do, second red flag along my journey was like, oh, that's right, Pat Shurmur.
Yeah, Pat Shurmur coming in as the OC. Does that help stabilize them a little bit?
And maybe I'm throwing it to the additions and losses, Sean, but man.
Well, what's your take before we kind of break down, start getting into the 2020 season? What's your take on Drew Lock? Because I see Drew Lock, and everyone says, oh, he's 4-1, but he kind of got away with some stuff, and he was still a rookie. But that's how you win as a rookie. Like you win some games that you aren't supposed to win, but usually those guys end up being pretty decent starters. Watching the film on Lock, I'll say this: I think he's got good eye level. Like he's looking down the field the entire time. And
for those new to the program, when Sean says he's watching the film, he's actually watching the film.
I'm breaking down the film. I'll say this: what I really like about Drew Lock is that he looks and feels calm in the pocket for a rookie. Two things I actually look at is eye level. Are they looking at the guys rushing them? The defensive line, or is he really looking down the field to throw the ball and create opportunities? And how nervous are his feet? You know what I mean? Like, does he sit back there?
Shameless plug. For it didn't turn out as well for Daniel Jones, but a lot of the similar traits when it comes to like focus down the field.
Yeah.
And there's something, and now Daniel Jones, a lot of fumbles came out of that because Nate Soldier, pile of shit, he's opted out. But back to the Broncos, I do think that is a characteristic where over anything else, it gives you optimism that this kid has it.
Yeah. And where are you landing, Ian, on the whether or not Drew Lock is the guy?
I'm totally all aboard the Drew train.
Nice.
I think when it comes to quarterbacks, I think people tend to overanalyze it because whether they look into the numbers or they try to compare quarterbacks to quarterbacks, I just look at how does he play the game and how does he handle the situation? Is the moment too big for him? And when I watch Drew Lock, there are some throws that he made and decisions that he made that show that he's not the moment's not too big for him. That decision in the touchdown that he threw to Cortland Sutton against the Los Angeles Chargers in his first start, when he comes in and he tells Cortland Sutton, just run a go route and I'm going to throw it to you. And he does. And Cortland Sutton makes the catch. That shows you that Drew Lock has the mental capacity to play the game. He has the confidence to play the game. So I think Drew Lock is definitely going to be the quarterback of the future. And the reason that I also believe that is because of how he responded to his play and his game against the Kansas City Chiefs. It was nowhere near what he wanted it to be. It was nowhere near what the Broncos, Elway, Fangio expected or wanted it to be. And he responded and comes out the next week and plays a pretty good game against the Detroit Lions. So I think he definitely has the ability to be the quarterback of the future for the Broncos and lead them back to where they want to be. And I think it's because he has it. He knows what it takes to be successful in the league. He's not afraid to ask questions. He wants to be developed. He's like a mold of clay, so to speak. And Pat Shurmur and Mike Shula are going to be able to do that.
Yeah, I
think also for the first time, like my sources inside the state of Colorado tell me, my birdies along my grass network, Sean, they tell me that for the first time in a while, it feels like someone that people are actually like confidently behind.
Yeah,
not like, oh yeah, Paxton Lynch, yeah, Joe Flacco.
Well, I mean, again, Elway dodged a bullet by having Brock Osweiler hold out for more money and turn down that deal. All right, couple additions to the Broncos. Of course, they retained safety Justin Simmons. They brought in defensive lineman Jarrell Casey via trade. Cornerback AJ Bouye, that's huge. And guard Graham Glasgow, Melvin Gordon. That was a nice little pickup there. Tight end Nick Vanette.
Ooh.
As far as guys they lost, of course, Juwan James, right tackle, opted out. Cornerback Chris Harris Jr. That was a big loss. Defensive lineman Shelby Harris. Center Connor McGovern. Defensive lineman Derek Wolf. Fullback Andy Janovich. All gone.
And another opt out was Kyle Pecco.
Okay. Not familiar with Kyle, but overall,
I want to give everyone who opted out a shout out.
There you go. Couple other nuggets on the Broncos before we start breaking down.
Wait,
the
so
schedule.
Pat Shurmur wasn't a key addition?
I guess technically he was a key addition. You can hear Ryan's kind of mock of Pat Shurmur, but maybe Pat Shurmur, Ryan, as much as you're a guy the Giants brought in, Jason Garrett.
Hold on,
and Freddie Kitchens.
I got numbers for you, Sean. Pat Shurmur has twice had an offense in the top 5 of DVOA. One was the 2013 Eagles with Chip Kelly, for which he gets no credit for.
No.
And then the second was the 2017 Vikings with Case Keenum, for which he gets credit for. Very talented.
That's what got
team.
That's what got him the job in New York.
He's had 7 offenses finish in the bottom 9 in the league, 23rd or worst. So as much as I was on the Shurmur train, being a loyal Giants optimist, this was the second red flag, as I mentioned, on my journey, where I thought I was going to be coming into this like, fuck yeah, let's go, mile high Broncos. Weed is legal. Love the state of Colorado, but I'm starting to smoke about weed. It's dampening, Sean.
Well, I'll say what makes me high on the Broncos is the skill players they've surrounded Locke with. Bringing in Gordon, of course. I love the draft picks: KJ Hamler, Jerry Jeudy.
I love Cortland Sutton.
Yeah, Cortland Sutton, to add to Cortland Sutton and Fant, like every one of these guys has a great ability to get yards after the catch. And that was almost some of the knock on Locke was like, well, yeah, he's checking down to these guys and they're getting a lot of yards after the catch, but that's perfect for the Pat Shurmur offense, like high completion percentage to these super skilled guys. So yeah, I think the offense could get going. As far as the defensive line, Von Miller kind of coming off a down year. Bradley Chubb healthy, he's ready to rip it up. You got Bryce Callahan who was out 2018 and 2000 or like back-to-back years, but he's a pretty decent slot cornerback in there. Their defense, even though they didn't have Bradley Chubb, kind of a down year, 13th in DVOA still, strong linebacker group. So I think they should be. They feel like an above 500 team. Any kind of nuggets you have on the 2020 Broncos season, Ian?
I think one addition that I think gets overlooked is John Pagano coming in to replace Brandon Staley, who was the outside linebackers coach for the Broncos and is now the Rams defensive coordinator. So John Pagano steps in as the new outside linebackers coach. That's another veteran on Vic Fangio's defensive staff. And I think when you look at what the Broncos were able to add, and specifically Jarrell Casey, the fact that John Elway was able to get Casey for a 7th round pick is still mind blowing to me. I think he is going to be the tone setter and a wrecker for this defense, because I think the Broncos have lacked an interior presence like Jarrell Casey since Malik Jackson left for Jacksonville after the Super Bowl 50 win. So I think that's what's going to set up this defense, especially Von Miller and Bradley Chubb. And if you haven't seen the videos of Von Miller working out, holy crap, he is absolutely shredded. And the fact that he is doing it after testing positive for the coronavirus is another aspect that's insane. So I think Von Miller is going to be on another level in 2020 if they play. And I think it's going to be in large part because of Jarrell Casey and what he does on the interior part of that defensive line. And then offensively, on top of all the additions that you guys talked about with Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, Albert Okwuegbunam, on top of Noah Fant and Melvin Gordon and Cortland Sutton and Phillip Lindsay, I think Lloyd Cushenberry could be somebody that leads this offensive line. When you add him next to left guard Dalton Reisner, you now have an interior offensive line for the Broncos that has the potential to be very good for a long time with Dalton Reisner, Lloyd Cushenberry, and Graham Glasgow. The tackles are still a question mark, a huge question mark, especially now that Juwan James opted out and you still have Garrett Bowles. But I think Lloyd Cushenberry is going to be able to develop a rapport now with Drew Lock, similar to what he had with Joe Burrow. And Lloyd Cushenberry talked to the media earlier this week and compared Drew Lock to Joe Burrow with that same kind of personality and confidence. So that's one aspect that I'm looking at that I think could be a big factor for the Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it, right? It's the tackles that's scary. I mean, Bowles and his 13 holding penalties last year. Now with the opt out, he's definitely going to go from maybe a guy that could have been competed out of a job to a guy that's going to have to be back out there. Although he actually improved in the 5 games when Locke came in there. So perhaps it helps to have a quarterback that can move around a little bit. Locke, impressive against the blitz, Sean. Very impressive. One of the better.
Yeah, he's not like a true scrambler, but he slides and evades pressure pretty well.
The only other nugget I had, which is I one of the stats that I tend to look at, I don't know if I've always called it out, but red zone defense. We like those defenses, and this is an explainable red zone defense, right? You have a defensive coordinator that plays a certain style, and I think Ian nailed it. Jarrell Casey makes this defensive front completely different. Chubb and Von Miller are going to be absolute dynamos this year, and I think that red zone defense, we know defense tends to be more variant year to year. And what did you call out the defensive ranking last year, Sean? Because it wasn't all that Bronco-y. Where
13th in DVOA.
There you go. Number 2 red zone. Number 2
huge.
red zone DVOA defense, which gives me a lot of hope that is going to regress back towards being an elite, potentially top 5 defense. And when you look at the narrative of Vic Fangio being the coach, and maybe to your point, Sean, Pat Shurmur's ultra conservative, don't let the ball hit the ground offense could be perfect, tailor made for
these yards after catch guys.
I'm a Giants fan. I just watched Pat Shurmur with enough skill positions, with guards and a decent center, and the tackles weren't there, and that was a problem. And so I worry about that. I worry about that with Drew Lock. I worry about the sample size expanding with Drew Lock. We've seen 5 games. We know quarterbacks tend to have that, especially the ones that have that early peak. It tends to come back as the game tape comes out. And the last thing I'll point out before we get to the schedule, Sean, they project to have the 3rd hardest schedule by DVOA. So, perhaps this team, this is one of those things that you're going to hear me say a lot this off season, Sean, but perhaps this is a team that could get better and not necessarily regress positively in the wins column, if you know what I mean.
All right, let's do it.
But there's only way to do this. So the over under this year, last year they were 7-9. They pushed the win total of 7. This year, Sean, they are at 8. Even juice both sides, plus 800 to win the division, plus 2,500 to win the AFC, and plus 4,000 to win the Super Bowl. 40-1, Sean. That might be steep enough for you to dabble in that action. All right, Sean, this is the staple of the preview. We're going to go through the schedule 4 games at a time. First 4 for the Broncos. Tennessee on Monday night opener. I think the Giants and Steelers are there too, so that'll be a fun little night. At Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay at home, at Jets on Thursday night. Short week there on the road. Sean, I'll throw it to you first. What do they come out of that stretch with?
First 4 games, again, I think the Broncos, especially because they're at elevation, I think conditioning will be at a premium, especially to begin the season. And we love taking the Broncos first two games at home, or especially in the first 2 weeks if they're at home. I love them.
Week 1 they're at home, and week 3 they're at home against the Bucs.
Yeah, I love both those spots, and I think they're able to probably take down the Jets. I'm going to say they get off to a very good start, 3-1. Ian,
oh wow,
what do you have them doing in those first 4 games?
I actually think the same way. I think the fact that they're able to get the New York Jets as their Thursday night game after playing Tom Brady and the Buccaneers at home, I think will benefit them. But the Broncos always struggle when they go to the East Coast. So I think one way that'll help the Broncos is it's not going to be an early game, because whenever they play at 11 a.m. Mountain Time, 11 a.m. Mountain Time, they struggle. So I think that will help them. I think they do start 3-1. I think that Pittsburgh game will be very interesting. I don't think that they're going to come out of Pittsburgh with a win. So I do think that they will start 3-1 though.
Kramer,
like the angle. I think they drop both road games. I think the Jets might the Jets might be a team this year, Sean. I'm starting to turn the tide there. I think we're still pretty optimistic. I'm 2-2 in the first 4. Next 5 at New England, Miami at home, Kansas City at home. Week 8 they have their bye. Coming out of the bye at Atlanta. How say you, Sean?
Well, this is interesting because they got the bye in there as well. The Pats always are going to be tough. Dolphins at home. That's an interesting one. Chiefs. That's just. I mean, it's the Chiefs who are still pretty dominant. I think with the bye in there, I like their chances better in Atlanta. So I'll go 2-2 here in this 4-game stretch. Ian, what do you got for this 4-game swing?
I think that game against New England is going to be very interesting since basically every single member of the Patriots is opting out because I think Bill Belichick wants Trevor Lawrence.
I like that conspiracy theory that people are throwing out that Bill is somehow like the ultimate puppet master behind the scenes, encouraging the opt-outs to tank the season and get like Trevor.
It. Well, I mean, if you're going to cheat to win, why won't you cheat to lose? So
he's doing everything he can.
I think, and this is what I've said about the schedule from the beginning, and I think it's for the entire Broncos season. If the Denver Broncos want to get into the playoffs, if they want to show that they have the confidence that they can actually do it, they have to beat the Kansas City Chiefs at least once. They've lost to the Chiefs every single game since that game against that Peyton Manning threw 4 interceptions and was benched for Brock Osweiler. They have not beat the Kansas City Chiefs since week 2 of 2015. They need to beat the Kansas City Chiefs at least once. And I think they need to do it at home because they never play well in December at Arrowhead Stadium. So if the Broncos really want to make this a season that turns the tide, they have to beat the Chiefs in week 7. I'm not sure if they will. I think that they will come out of that little 4-game stretch, including in Atlanta. I think they'll be 2-2 after those 4 games.
Yeah, and I would say I'm optimistic that they, New England. It's such a wild card at this point with this New England. It's going to be hard to pick a lot of wins because, as you're saying, they're essentially pushing their chips to the side of the table. They're not pushing them in the table. They're not taking them home. They're just pushing them to the side. But when you really look at this list, none of these guys moving the knee. I don't know. I'll stay. You know what? I'll be optimistic because I do want to like this team. I'm excited about the players. I'm excited, and I'm trying to. Maybe it's a fantasy thing, Sean. Maybe I'm getting too excited about these guys from a fantasy perspective. I'll go 2-2. I'll go 2-2 as well, Sean. Next 4 at Las. It still looks funny to see Las Vegas at Las Vegas. Chargers at home. Saints at home. At Kansas City. Boy.
Yeah, now this is interesting again for a number of reasons. The Saints.
Will Jameis be starting by then for the Saints? Because
the Saints, this is when you want to play the Saints, right? Late in the season, outdoors, end of November here. That's certainly going to be a cold game, and that's the type of matchup you want against the Saints. I think it feels like they got to win at least one of those 3 division games, if not 2. I still think maybe.
I think I'm going to go 2-2. I'll bury the lead.
You're going 2-2. I'll go crazy here. I'm going to say they go 3-1 in this stretch.
And I actually agree. I think that they're going to be able to beat the Raiders. I think they're going to beat the Chargers at home. I think they're going to beat the Saints at home. Like I said earlier, they don't ever play well in Arrowhead Stadium in December. Even if there aren't fans in Arrowhead at that point, they still never play well in Arrowhead. So I think that's the game that they're going to lose against Kansas City. I think the key for the Broncos, on top of beating the Chiefs at least once, is they have to play well against the teams that they're going to be on par with. So the Falcons, the Raiders, the Chargers, the Bills, those are the teams that they have to play well against because they always step up against the teams that are above them. So like Tampa Bay, Pittsburgh, the Saints, they play well against those teams. It's the ones that are on par or a little bit worse than them the last couple of seasons that they lower down to. So if they're able to keep their game consistent and remain at a high level, that will be key. But I do think they come away from this third quarter 3-1.
Oh man, I love your guys' optimism. Next 4 at Carolina, Buffalo on Saturday, back-to-back Saturday games here for the Broncos. Buffalo on a Saturday at home, and then at the Chargers. That's funny. They're gonna have tons of fans in that stadium, Sean. Closing out,
regardless of COVID, they'll have the same number of fans.
Closing out with Las Vegas at home. You know what? I'm gonna. It's only fitting that I'm gonna go 2-2. I'm gonna do it again, Sean. 2-2.
I think
I'm riding this one out. 8-8.
As much as I'm optimistic about them, I think if I had them going. 2-2 here, that would be 10-6. I'm going to say 1-3. I think things get a little wonky for them late. They beat the Panthers and then they kind of they run into a little trouble.
You think?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Drew Lock has a good season, but there's going to be a dip at some point. Maybe it comes late.
9-7, Sean. There you go.
9-7 feels about right for this Broncos team. Ian, how do you have them closing out?
I want to say 4-0, but I want to see Josh Allen in Denver because those who listen to my podcast with Adam Malnati know that I am not a Josh Allen fan at all. So it'll be fun to watch him go against this defense and not in Buffalo because there's another place the Broncos never play well in. I do think that they're going to win both of these AFC West games at the least. I think the one game that's going to be interesting is the Panthers. Just because that's an East Coast game, I'll say they go 3-1.
Oh man, I love it. I think that's 11-5. You guys are pushing playoffs right now. Sean, you had them in the playoffs last year.
I have them in the playoffs again, especially a 7-team playoff. I think they're going to get in.
Can I tell you what's crazy? This whole I know the Chiefs are a lot better, but the Super Bowl hangover exists. All the other teams in the division are 8-1, 9-1, and 9.5-1. The Broncos leading the charge at 8-1. There's a chance, right?
Yeah, certainly. I mean,
if you're a degenerate,
if you're like Ian and laying out the case for 11-5, the Chiefs dipping down slightly to go 10-6, slightly regression. Or maybe they win the tiebreaker. 8-1 for a division is usually a pretty juicy price.
That's ridiculous. It's usually the longest shot.
Yeah, I'll stick with the over here at 8. 9-7 feels pretty realistic. Ryan, you have them pushing. Gun to your head, did they go over under?
Well, I'm gonna pass on this one. No, I would say based on the red flag of Pat Shurmur, the difficulty of this schedule, and the fact that I do think the sample size. You even called it out at points. Drew Lock will look like a rookie, I think. And I think the not having,
because we didn't see that
top level talent at the tackle positions could be the reason why. But I think there's enough talent around him where this is going to be a classic high variance team. You know, Vic Fangio is going to have that defense ready. The offense is going to be all over the place, and they're gonna. Here's my hot take: they're going to win a couple games by like 25 points. And they're going to they're going to have a couple games where the offense looks like complete shit. So hopefully it doesn't start bad. Hopefully they get that fast start. I do want to pull for this team. As you know, Sean, we both like the great state of Colorado.
It's a great state. So Ian, you got them going 11-5. Are you, if you're a gambling man, would you take any action on them winning the division at 8-1?
No, I think
no, I appreciate that. Just the very no, not at all. Chiefs will do it
because I think the Chiefs are just too good. And even if there is a Super Bowl hangover, I still think they go 12-4. So the thing that's going to be key for the Broncos is I have them at 11-5, but there's two games where they could drop and go 9-7. And you could list any number of those games, especially the road games. There's Atlanta, there's Buffalo at home, there's Carolina. Those are the games that they have to play well in. Those are the games that they have to win if they want to be a playoff team, because I think they're going to show up against those teams that are going to be the top of the line, like the Saints, the Buccaneers. That it's going to be an interesting season. And I think what's going to drive this team is going to be the defense. I think it's going to be back to what it was 4 or 5 years ago. They're going to be able to get after the quarterback. They're going to be able to create turnovers, and that's going to give confidence to the offense. And I think the offense is going to be able to score points, and not necessarily field goals, but touchdowns. And if they're able to do that, they'll be able to win games. And I still think the key to this season is beating the Chiefs at least one time.
I like it. And make sure you, Ian, appreciate the time. Make sure you check out Ian on Twitter at Ian St. Clair. Check out his writing. Check out his podcast. Ian, appreciate the time, man.
Thanks, guys. It was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, sports are back, and you know who else is back? The leaders in daily fantasy, DraftKings. You might remember DraftKings from the time I won $200,000.
I don't.
I mention it a lot. DraftKings, the leader in one-day fantasy sports, is offering you a shot at a share of millions of dollars every day this week. That's right, every day this week. Fantasy basketball, very fun to play. Fantasy baseball. I know I'm sweating out my fantasy golf lineup for the PGA Championship. Kramer, you just tied your 50-1 Jason Day bet. It's still pretty nice, 25-1 for the first round leader. But again, DraftKings.com. Use that promo code SGP to get a free shot at millions of dollars. They got you covered over at DraftKings. Again, download the DraftKings app now and use the promo code SGP to get a shot at millions of dollars in prizes every day this week. That's promo code SGP to get a shot at millions of dollars in prizes every week or every day this week. Only at DraftKings. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Sean, I'm in 18,105th place right now, winning $35 in the PGA Championship. Millionaire Maker. But I just my first 4-figure cash since the restart, Sean.
Sports are back, and you know who else is back? San Diego Supercharger, super fan. Los Angeles Charger, maybe super fan. We're gonna learn more. Justin Decker, Justin, great to have you on the podcast again, man. What's happening?
Good to be back, boys. I'm excited for this season. Even playing field for everybody, baby. No fans, right?
And everyone. I'm sure
now you know how I feel.
I've heard. I bet you've heard the joke a million times already about like the Chargers have already been preparing for this, but truly, this is the season of all seasons for the Chargers. Do you think it's gonna help them out on the field?
Hey, of course it is. Look at their stats. And Melvin Gordon made that joke, by the way, as a new member of the Denver Broncos, and it kind of hurt. I'll be honest.
I have Decker, real quick. We can't stomp on this because I actually have that quote where Melvin Gordon says, "Bro, we didn't."
That hurt.
So he was asked about the potential of playing in empty stadiums. He goes, "Bro, we didn't have fans anyway."
Well, he didn't know about you, Justin. He didn't know about your love of the Chargers. It's real to me. You've always thrown this out there. You've always said it, and it's actually being put to the test. You said, I'm going to follow the Chargers until Phillip Rivers leaves or retires. He left in free agency very unceremoniously to the Indianapolis Colts. Chargers, there wasn't much of a farewell tour for old Phillip. It was just like a tweet. They didn't even bother putting together a video. They're just
kind of messed up.
He was only there for 2 years. He should have gone back down to San Diego. But yeah, go ahead.
No, are you sticking it out with the Chargers? Basically, when you come over for football on Sunday, maybe you'll be in a bubble, whatever the situation. When you come over to watch the games, are you going to be requesting the Chargers game or the Colts game?
Chargers to start. Here's what it is.
Well, hold on. When
it first happened, I didn't even have a question. I just thought I am a Chargers fan, no matter what happens. That was not even in my mind. The good thing about Phillip Rivers going is now I have a second team, boys. Like I'm following the Colts. I'm stoked about the Colts. I will be following the Chargers, and if they drop off, then and the Colts are in it, then I'm going to say put the Colts on.
And
you know what I mean?
I just took off my very awesome Sports Gambling Podcast sweatshirt to reveal my bright orange. I stand with you, Decker. United as we root for the Tyrod Taylor led.
Oh, dude.
San Diego / Los Angeles / Inglewood Chargers.
So Chargers.
Can we start calling them the Inglewood Chargers?
That's got a better ring to it.
Absolutely.
And it sounds a little badass. I mean, Dr. Dre has that line, Inglewood always up to no good. No. And I like that as the feel of this Chargers team. Because the Chargers, and this is the story of the Chargers last year.
We need to start that 100% though, by the way.
Inglewood Chargers.
I'm serious.
It's badass.
Go ahead, Sean.
Last year, Chargers 5-1, classic Chargers year, tons of talent, tons of bad breaks, 2-9 in one score games, 2-9 in one score games.
A lot of regression candidate here.
1-4 in field goal games.
A lot of reasons this team is going to regress.
-8 points in point differential.
That you should be 8-8. How are they 5-11?
It's like that every year though. It's like that every year.
It is like that every year.
And the year before, they kind of, I think, hit everything they could and really went over. And then last year was kind of like paying for all their good luck. The previous year,
if you look at their last 5 years, they've only their expected wins has only been outpaced by their actual wins once. This is just a perpetually unlucky team. But we have great news, Decker. No one on the Chargers has opted out. Which is such a Chargers.
No one.
Everyone's buying in, baby. That Anthony Lynn team, they couldn't do any wrong.
Well, and we found out
they should just stay in that stadium. The new stadium is like a bubble in itself. You got a pool, you got a
farmers market.
Yeah, the farmers market.
You got everything. Just stay there. That's your bubble.
First farmers market in Inglewood for sure.
Yeah, and really highlights the disparity in East and West Coast football fans, where the
farmers market,
the LA stand is a farmers market. Lincoln Financial Field has a jail. So that pretty much says all you need.
Well, and Sean, we did learn during the college football tournament that Mr. Herbert, the rookie, while we don't think he's going to start day one, maybe not, probably not, he does possess some very nice arm talent.
He does have some guns on him. Here's to me the big story of last season and maybe going into this season. Rivers. Now, Decker, you may want to cover your ears for this one. Rivers, 3.9 touchdown percentage, lowest of his career, 23 touchdowns to 20 interceptions. Compare that to Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor has thrown 20 interceptions in his entire 45 game career.
Yeah.
The Chargers had a -17 turnover margin. Turnover margin. Regresses very often to the mean, especially with defenses creating them, getting those fumbles. Maybe they didn't get the year before. And you bring in Tyrod, a guy who is tight with the ball, maybe too much so sometimes, where he isn't aggressive enough. That seems like a good opportunity to kind of swing the turnover.
And plays more with the style of Anthony Lynn. I think that conservative. He's a running backs coach. He's kind of a linebackers guy on defense, conservative ball movement. So the most interceptions Tyrod has thrown in a year is 6. I think he's the most underrated QB. Maybe in the league. Am I wrong? Like in the last,
you're asking the wrong guy. If I think
10 years,
I mean,
I'm looking at his numbers and I'm thinking this is a good quarterback.
Yeah, but the thing is, when you
Tyrod is the right situation away from being Russell Wilson.
Yeah,
he's a guy who doesn't make a lot of the big plays, but as far as moving it down the field with the good defense, I think he's the right quarterback.
He will take some sacks, and that's a risk to call out. He will take. He will hold on the ball. He will take sacks. I would expect that to be maybe a problem with the offense.
Yeah, and that is a big red flag on offense. I love their skill players. I mean, Keenan Allen, love him chirping online. Hunter Henry, we're high on. Eckler, high on fantasy wise. You got Mike Williams.
And if you look at the numbers, Philip Rivers really was gravitating towards the short passing game last year, and that doesn't exactly jive with what Mike Williams, Hunter Henry, and some of these guys do best. So now that you're unlocking these other pieces to your offense, Sean, of course, I called out Hunter Henry as my #1 fantasy tight end this year. I think you're inevitably going to. I think you might accidentally be failing forward here as you go away from Philip Rivers.
Yeah, and certainly bringing in a guy like Tyrod who should be a little tighter with the ball. The O-line is a huge worry. It's still unclear who's going to start at left tackle.
No, I don't think it is. But you're right about left tackle. It's going to be Sam Tevy, and that's a question mark. But they got Trey Turner, 5-time Pro Bowler, and Bulaga from the Packers. So their offensive line is good except for left tackle. I know it's the most important, but maybe Anthony Lynn has something up his sleeves because he got a mobile quarterback. I don't know if most of his sacks came from the blind side, but he's still got some athleticism. I don't know. I mean,
I think
left tackle is a worry.
I think if you're Anthony Lynn, you run a lot of 12 personnel where you bring in Hunter Henry and then bring in one of the backup tight ends that's more like blocking based and give that second tight end some help and chipping the defensive ends on the left tackle.
Virgil Green, veteran.
Yeah, like bring in Virgil Green and 12 personnel. But the defensive side of the ball, I mean, you got to be just jacked about this defensive team. Bosa and Ingram combined for 119
I was looking
pressures.
at the secondary, boys, and I was trying to think who has a better secondary. I honestly, I don't know.
Sean, you wouldn't be, you'd be surprised, but I have numbers to talk about this exact topic, the secondary. Last year, what happened? Predictably, this team didn't blitz a lot. I don't think they have not blitzed a lot. I think they've been the least blitz happy team in the league the past 2 seasons. Yet last year, even though they're not blitzing, they still sucked in pass coverage, 24th in DVOA against middle and deep passing routes.
The linebackers.
What gives? Well, one, Derwin James. That dude's a boss. He wasn't on the field.
Slipped on a screw, wasn't that?
He's very Chargers like way for that to happen, but he's back. He is an absolute game changer. And then the other guy that was a liability, a guy that I think you liked, Decker, and that was Thomas Davis. He's just not a guy that's going to cover sideline to sideline anymore. So who do they bring in?
Yeah,
the rookie Kenneth Murray,
Kenneth Murray is the X factor,
an absolute sideline to sideline guy. And the last piece of this, what better way to lock up your woes at defending the pass over the middle than bring in the best slot cover corner in the league, and that's Chris Harris. So I think while people will get lost in the whirlwind of people analyzing if the Chargers offense is going to get better or worse with Tyrod Taylor / Herbert, when in reality, I think there's no way it can't get better because Phillip Rivers was real trash last year. Sorry, cover your earmuffs, Decker.
No, he was, on the deep balls
the real reason this team gets it done. And again, Sean, what was I telling you about the Broncos? Second in red zone defense. That's promising. Well, you know where the Chargers landed in that one? And you already called out all these other regression candidates, but you know where the Chargers landed in the red zone defense last year?
Where do we got them at?
3rd.
Really?
Is that correct? No, I'm sorry. 32nd.
Okay. I was going to say 3rd.
I looked at the
I was
wrong
going to say the other way. I didn't know they were.
Now here's the thing. It's explainable, right? For the same reasons you lost your quarterback of the defense, and the scheme just it's not going to work. He was not ready to. He probably could have lost a lot of players in that defense last year. Couldn't lose Derwin James. So the 32nd is explainable. Still a little scary because that means you were the worst.
I didn't know they were that bad. Honestly, that didn't pop out at me.
Rapid fire additions and losses. They bring in a tackle, Brian Balaga, Try Turner, or maybe Trey. I mean, TRAI. Come on, help me out.
Trey.
Yeah,
but Trey.
All right.
Sean,
Trey sounds right, but. That's not a way you should spell a name. Chris Harris Jr., like we talked about. Linval Joseph, that's another nice little add to the D line. Losses.
Lost Mebane.
Russell Okun has got to be excited about Bitcoin's soaring price right now. Rivers, of course, Melvin Gordon, safety Adrian Phillips, and then Thomas Davis, who was kind of more of a liability. They're turning the leaf. They're getting some young guys in here. I like what they're doing with the draft picks. I'm not I was kind of on board with the Herbert pick. I think this is a year. Just let Herbert. Don't put Herbert in unless you really need him. Let Tyrod steer the ship. Get a little. People
are acting like Tyrod can't take this team to the playoffs. That's the part that's
he has
weird.
90. He's going to have a 95 quarterback rating this year if he plays like he's played in the past.
Well, and I think the comparison is that last year in Buffalo, where they got to the playoffs with Tyrod under center, similar formula where didn't turn the ball over a lot. Defense was solid, and the offense was able to matriculate the ball down the field and get enough points to keep you in the game. And the skill set he has on offense is much better this year than what he had in Buffalo. I think the Buffalo line was a little bit better, but I think that can even out. They should be competitive.
I'll say that one thing that Tyrod I think has the potential to unleash this year is he throws a very nice high deep ball. He throws a really nice lofted deep ball, and when you have big tall receivers like Hunter Henry, Mike Williams, I think we're going to see. I've kind of talked myself into Mike Williams in fantasy this year as well because I just think he matches Tyrod's style well.
Oh yeah,
and
Deshaun or what's his name at Deshaun Watson called him a top 10 receiver, but obviously Clemson guys. But I mean, he doesn't get the ball thrown enough to him on those jump balls. I think Mike Williams is finally going to break out.
Kramer, let's do it. Let's break down the Chargers.
One last thing
schedule.
I wanted to throw out. You nailed some regression reasons, and I'll throw out a crazy one. They only recovered of the 15 forced fumbles that occurred while they were on defense. They only recovered 3.
And this is the Chargers in a nutshell. I feel like we have this conversation every year, and it's like they should have got more breaks than they did last year. But this year, if they get half those 50-50 balls, they're going to be okay. And they just don't, because they're the fucking Chargers. Are we crazy?
No, the X factor this year, Sean,
even playing field this year.
No fans for everyone.
I think the fans were the bad luck charm. The original Chargers Stadium was created on an Indian burial ground, and it cursed everything. Okay, Kramer.
Dignity Health Field was not good to them.
No, it wasn't. What a great name. All right, let's run through the schedule. Of course, Sean.
And finally, they get some dignity by not having to play in front of an empty stadium.
The win last year, they went 5-11, as you mentioned, well under their win total of 9.5. This year, 7.5 is the win total. Over is heavily juiced over at MyBookie.
And an easy schedule.
-160 on that over juice, Sean. +130 on the under juice. 9-1 to win the division. 22-1 to win the conference, and 40-1 to win the Super Bowl. First 4 at Cincinnati, Kansas City at home, Carolina at home, at Tampa Bay. And I didn't mention this, but they are 8th, projected to have the 8th toughest schedule according to DVOA.
Oh, that can't be right. This is an easy schedule, isn't it?
Decker disagrees. All right, first 4 at Cincinnati, Kansas City, Carolina, at Tampa Bay. Decker, what do you got them going after those first 4?
I got 2-2. I got wins at Cincinnati and Carolina, and they always lose to Tom Brady, so they're going to lose at Tampa.
Yeah, I feel like 2-2 is a good call here. Maybe they sneak one out against the Bucks and lose against the Panthers, or vice versa, but 2-2 feels pretty reasonable.
Oh God damn it! They're 3-1.
What? You're crazy. So you have them just losing to the Chiefs?
I think they start off 3-0.
Oh my God!
Whoa.
All right.
I think they start off 3-0 and then drop.
Oh man, we gotta bring this soundbite back when you're picking them to win.
I love Tyrod, man. I'm all in. Me and Decker are gonna be. I'm gonna get a jersey. Let's get some Tyrod jerseys, bro.
Next up, sure will.
At New Orleans on Monday Night Football. That's a tough spot after the back-to-back road games in the NFC South. Jets at home, at Miami, Jacksonville at home. Decker, what do you got for the next 4?
I think this is the easiest part of the schedule. They go 3-1 just with the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Jags are going to be bad.
This defense could be really good.
At New Orleans.
This defense could be good. I know I've been saying that I think the Jets could be a sneaky team. I don't think they're a sneaky like go on the road to the West Coast and win a game.
It's a tough spot.
Miami probably late enough in the season not to have to worry too much about the Heat. And yeah, Jacksonville's gonna be a dumpster fire. I'm going 3-1 again, Sean.
I'm going 2-2. I think that Dolphins game could be sneaky. But yeah, I mean at home against Chargers and Jags, you like their chances there. But in New Orleans and I do think in Florida, still in October, I think could be a tough spot for them.
They're a weird team. They have like 2 wide receivers opting out, which seems like a lot.
Yeah, I mean, quick sidebar.
Yeah, that's bad.
Decker, I know, is on Team Devontae Parker for fantasy, and him and Ryan Fitzpatrick week 1 DFS stack in New England, which actually I think Fitzpatrick has done really well in.
Oh yeah.
It just seems like that's going to be a very popular play, Sean. Next 4, you went 2-2, correct? Next 4.
I don't think that'll be that popular.
You don't think so?
The Dolphins in New England. I think Joe Q Public would be scared away, but we'll see. Maybe
Parker
everyone will hop on
last year. All right, next you went 2-2, right?
Yes.
All right, next 4, the Las Vegas Raiders at home, then the bye week. At Denver, at Buffalo, that's a tough stretch, and then New England at home. New England coming to the West Coast. This is a tough stretch, Decker. What do you think? Can they get through this one?
This is a tough stretch because Buffalo, Denver. Who knows how good Denver's going to be this year? That they're just a wild card team. I'm going to say, and in New England too, I'm going to just say 2-2, just because I don't know I don't know where the win is going to be and where the loss is going to be here.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 2-2.
Yeah, I agree. And I almost have the same take as Decker, where I feel like they win one of their division games and then win one of these AFC East games. Maybe 1-3 is not out of the question in this span, but I'll keep it.
Yeah.
I'll keep it middle of the road and go 2-2.
I also went 2-2. Last 4: Atlanta at home, at Las Vegas on Thursday night, Denver on a Saturday at home, at Kansas City. That's a tough 3-game banger with the divisional games. Decker, how are they closing out?
I love that they're playing Kansas City on the last game, by the way.
Yeah, maybe resting the starters.
In that last game.
Yeah.
I mean, this team is the best in the NFL, in my opinion. If they get that last game where they need it, get a 9th win, get in, I'm going to say 2-2 just because of that wild card. But I mean, if anything, I think they can win versus Atlanta and Denver there. So I'm going to say 2-2. That has me finishing 9-7.
And you also have the X factor of the Raiders season could be well over by week 15.
Yeah, I think that's a possibility.
You know what? This is a show that rarely do I go down the hot take road to the hot take cul-de-sac, but I'm going to go 3-1, Sean.
Wow. So you are high on this Chargers.
What are you at?
I'll keep it middle of the road, 2-2. I think they beat the Falcons at home, and then they definitely win one of these last 3 division games, maybe 2. So actually, you know what? I think they. You know what? No, I'll keep it 2-2.
All right, Sean, you have them going 8-8.
Yeah, that feels
Decker
right.
has them going 9-7, and I have them going an absolute
10-6.
monstrous 11-5.
Oh my God,
Wow.
Ryan. Do you want to edit this podcast?
No.
You have the Chargers going 11-5.
Listen, we talked about all the reasons this team can regress, and then you dive in beyond the numbers and you see the narrative that makes sense. And then you even go further and realize that Phillip Rivers was the problem. And they brought in 2 quarterbacks that could potentially play better than Phillip Rivers. We know. I think the one way they fucked this up, Sean, excuse my language, Decker.
Wow. Yeah, seriously, dude.
I think the way they screw this up is if they rush Herbert out there. There's no
big mistake.
Now we could be wrong, and Tyrod could look absolutely washed. But I have a feeling
he's not going to have a preseason game either.
I have a feeling Tyrod's going to operate pretty well in this kind of offense. I think he's gonna completely excel with Hunter Henry. There's going to be a good rapport there. Tyrod is
Austin
also Eckler is the perfect kind of quarterback. Tyrod throws one of the nicer, like lofted swing passes. Anyway, I can go on and on Tyrod. 11-5. I'm obviously liking the over. The juice is minus 160, which feels silly, but why not take a little on that 9-1?
All right,
on this team. This defense,
I love it. This defense could be stacked if they get the linebackers, if they keep the linebackers healthy. Very thin.
If Kenneth can really help them in that mid-range pass coverage, I think that could be huge.
But Derwin James, again, you can't replace. You don't replace guys like Ed Reed, Earl Thomas, Derwin James. He's that level. And when you have Bosa and Ingram up from front, and you bring in a guy like Chris Harris, like this could be the best defense in the league, Sean.
It could be.
It would only be fitting for Phillip Rivers.
They could have the best secondary. I could say that.
All right.
Certainly the best DBs for sure. All right, Decker, appreciate you calling in. We're going to let you go, but before we do,
all right, boys,
I think we got to hear you sing the song one more time. Football is back. Just give us one San Diego Superchargers song.
San Diego Superchargers, San Diego Chargers, charge Inglewood.
There we go.
I love it. All right, Decker.
Inglewood, baby.
Thank you, and good luck to your Inglewood Chargers.
All right, guys, take it easy.
Always good to talk to Deck, man. You can hear the excitement in his voice. Why, Kramer? Because football is back. Sports are back. And hey, it's a great time to be a sports fan. Even better time to be a bookie. That's right. Instead of just betting, why not start booking your own action? Well, help pay for your bets. Take some action. yourself there. Ace per head helps you get going. All you got to do is go to aceperhead.com/SGP. They get you 6 weeks free, up to 6 weeks free over at aceperhead.com/SGP. Top notch customer support going 24/7. Some of the sharpest lines in the industry. Again, you don't need to know how to start your own sportsbook. You don't need to know how to set up a betting website or even what to set the lines at. Ace takes care of all that heavy lifting for you. Very easy to use, great customer service. And again, if you go to aceperhead.com/SGP, get up to 6 weeks free. Kramer talking Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, well,
I meant to bust Decker's chops when he threw out.
What did he do?
He goes, Kansas City Chiefs. I got them as the best team in the league. It's like hot take, Decker. Yeah. The team that won the Super Bowl that looks amazing. You have them as the best team in the league.
Decker's a conservative man, you know.
Yes,
he doesn't like to step out there on the limb.
I'm going all in on Trump.
All right. It's funny because it's
going to really piss him off.
Kansas City Chiefs. They won the Super Bowl 12-4. Interesting run in the playoffs. I mean, they were down big in every single one of those playoff games.
I mean, they really could have lost to Houston.
They could have lost to Houston. I mean, they could have lost to Tennessee. They certainly could have lost to the 49ers. 3 come from behind wins. I feel like that gets buried in the Chiefs season because they were so, they went 12-4 in the regular season, looked really good.
They went 12-4 and they missed 2.5 games of Patrick Mahomes.
That's also true. So maybe that's a reason why you're still on them to go over this win total. But yeah, Chiefs, interesting team for sure. Super Bowl winners though, teams coming off the Super Bowl that especially aren't the New England Patriots. I have the list in front of me and I'll include the Patriots, but you can see the Patriots really are the outlier. The 2018 Patriots, they next year they went 12-4. They lost in the wild card, as you remember. The Titans, Eagles, after they won their Super Bowl 9-7, lost in the divisional round. But even that game, to get to that, they needed the double doink to win the wild card. New England Patriots 2016, they ended up going 13-3. They lost the Super Bowl again to the Eagles. So again, Patriots kind of the outliers here. Broncos, after their Super Bowl win, they went 9-7, missed the playoffs. Patriots in 2014, they went 12-4, lost the conference championship. Seahawks, after their Super Bowl win, went 12-4, lost the Super Bowl. Ravens 8-8, missed the playoffs after theirs. Giants 9-7 after their Super Bowl, missed the playoffs. Packers went 15-1, but then lost the divisional round after winning the Super Bowl. And then Saints 11-5, lost in the wild card. So it's really hard to get back to the Super Bowl, and certainly to win back to back is pretty crazy.
It's a fairly strong trend. Now I would say Patrick Mahomes is younger than a lot of these guys. You can argue he's still getting better.
Yes.
But if you want to look at just the team, like this was an outlying data point for Andy Reid. And as you mentioned, there were many times along the journey where he could have blown another big game. And the narrative would have been Andy Reid doesn't get it done in a big game again. Now, the greatness of Patrick Mahomes allowed him to overcome, but I don't think you planned for the outlier, Sean.
No.
And when you then sprinkle in the fact that the Super Bowl hangover is generally real, and it's hard to not just from a pure just principle of you have to. I think you have to fade this team this year. I think
certainly a little bit. I mean,
I certainly came into this exercise with as little bias as possible, but I had an inkling that I was going to be glass half empty on this team's versus. I mean, there's just so many dynamic moving parts where the whole thing could come collapsing down very quickly.
Well, and they still are relying on that high-powered, high-volume passing offense. But Mahomes is really kind of unprecedented through 31 regular season starts.
He's great.
Mahomes ranks first all-time in passing touchdowns, 76, and adjusted passing yards per attempt, 9.2. Again, yards per attempt is a pretty good trend when you're looking at breaking down these quarterbacks, and they're still super dynamic at the offensive skill position. I mean, Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, Travis Kelce, Mecole Hardman, and Hardman could be poised for that second year jump up.
I mean, they always have a good special teams, and they had the last 3 years.
Well, and
top
also
5.
again, and we'll get to this when we get to the Las Vegas Raiders to close things out for the divisional preview. you can overthink this a little bit, and if you still have a really good head coach and a really good quarterback, you're gonna be in the mix. Now, their win total is comically high, and the expectations are comically high, but they're still going to be a very competitive team with Patrick Mahomes and with Andy Reid. I mean, that's why they gave him $500 million. Hey, if we got Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, you got a chance to be in the mix for the Super Bowl.
And I think some of this too, some of the pricing on the Chiefs is also the fact that the Patriots aren't there anymore. And I think the conventional wisdom is that no one is going to step into that void as 1B or the other alpha in the conference.
Well, but really the Ravens seem like a team that would match up perfectly against the Chiefs in the playoffs. And we didn't get to see that matchup, but really the Ravens, I think, have that team that's how you
saw the matchup in the regular season.
Yeah.
When the Ravens, I think did they cover the spread or did they get backdoored? Either way, they were able to move the rock on the Chiefs.
Well, and how do you beat the Chiefs? You keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands, and that's what the Ravens are great at doing. So I think Ravens in the AFC, they are kind of the legit contender there for the Chiefs. But again, the Ravens also had like the perfect regular season last year, so they're due to regress a little bit. Interesting. I'm already looking at that game one, the Texans getting 10 points in Arrowhead. I mean, I'm not going to make it my lock, but I already bet this over at mybookie.ag.
It's too big.
Promo code SGP because one, I mean, this Texans team was just in their last game was in Kansas City where they were up big on this team. Now, granted, they lost DeAndre Hopkins, but that certainly isn't in my mind enough to shift the line 3 points. And to me, that the Chiefs being 10-point favorites, that factors in a home field advantage. Are they really going to have that without that sea of red-faced Kansas City Chiefs fans?
There are a handful of teams that I think you have to adjust your handicap, and obviously you'll see as games play, but you have to adjust the handicap of teams that had the plus home field, and it's almost an inverted thing. The teams like the Seattle Seahawks, the Kansas City Chiefs, you could even argue a team like Philly. Yeah. It certainly is neutralizing when you sit in a stadium like the new Giant Stadium or some of these or even the Cowboys, like these corporate centers that now they're just going to be empty.
Well, and
it levels the playing field because you don't have these fans on the field. You don't have this intimidating atmosphere. And I think more so than most sports, it's going to affect the game. There's a real thing there. So,
well, and to that point,
a lot of reasons why you might want to fade the Chiefs,
especially with the Chiefs, because they're coming off that Super Bowl win. Literally, Andy Reid has a full belly. Like he finally had that hunger satiated of getting that Super Bowl win. And now Patrick Mahomes, giant contract, $500 million.
Yep.
It might be hard to get up for these games. Now you're doing opening night. You're getting your Super Bowl rings. No one is there. Like I just don't know if they're going to be able to get up for these games to the point that they're going to cover the big spreads and dominate as much as we saw last year. I still think they're a very good team, but they can be a good team and not go over this win total of 11.5. I think what they really have going for them is continuity, and in this COVID season, continuity is huge. There's only 8 play callers who have their quarterback entering their 3rd year or longer together with the coach. Andy Reid and Mahomes, Shanahan and Garoppolo, Schottenheimer, Russell Wilson, Doug P and Carson Wentz, Sean Payton, Drew Brees, Brian Daboll, Josh Allen, John Gruden with Derek Carr, Sean McVay, Jared Goff. So some of those guys you definitely want to fade, but I think the fact that the Chiefs have 10 out of 11 starters returning on the defensive side, I think they're in a pretty good situation continuity wise.
Well, the guy who made the biggest play in the Super Bowl, Kendall Fuller, will not be there. He's one of the guys that they lost. So yeah, I think in general, and coming back to something you pointed out earlier, that the worst DVOA game the Chiefs had last year was against the Ravens. So, yeah, I think when you look at this team, they're going to be great. There's no reason to believe that they won't still be an explosive offense. They're going to be a team you want to target in fantasy, but I just can't help but think that they're just implicitly overvalued because they won the Super Bowl. And because I think to most people, there's not a contender in their division. You see that in the price -400. And for those reasons, I do have a bias because I've kind of dug through this looking for reasons to fade this team.
Yeah. And as far as reasons to fade their team, they've always had issues with cornerback. And then Bashad Breeland, he's facing a suspension for weed-related crimes.
Woo! It's smoking my weed.
Well, and like you said, like I said earlier, Fuller gone. He's an elite level cornerback. The Honey Badger, he's still around. That's a good thing.
But the Chiefs, they were 14th in DVOA, and that almost feels a bit of an outlier for this KC team. I could see them dropping down to like the 20s with the defensive side.
And here I come with the red zone defense, 5th, Sean. And I think when it came down to it, and this is one of those cliche things to say, but they when they needed to, they did. And it's. I don't know if I have the stomach to go under for this team, and I'm excited to go through the schedule.
Yeah, and I feel like
Did you already do the additions and losses, Sean?
No, let's do that real quick. But I feel like I'll end up probably close to the win total. But really, I think I'm going to be looking to fade them with a big spread early in the season, and maybe not actually get down on fading them in the win total section. Who they bring in? Ricky Seals-Jones, Bashad Breeland. Again, they re-signed him. Mike Remmers to help out the offensive line. Clyde Edwards-Helaire they're bringing in, who again should be interesting in fantasy. But again, he's a rookie. So I was disappointed when Damian Williams opted out, because I thought he was going to be a sneaky guy, especially early, that was going to get a lot of action, because Clyde Edwards-Helaire was overdrafted. Now Clyde Edwards-Helaire is probably going to get way more volume.
Or there's another guy because it's Andy Reid.
Yeah, and he'll mix it up and slowly ease the running back in. Like, I think you're crazy if you're drafting Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the first round.
But hopefully you're sitting on a 5-1 rookie of the year ticket.
If you got it early, for sure. Kendall Fuller is out, like you said, cornerback. They also lost Emmanuel Agba.
Nice, Sean.
Laurent Duvernay, Tarif, he opted out. He's the doctor in Canada. And then Damian Williams also opted out. Kudos to those guys. Or I don't know. I mean,
he's working in a hospital. I think he's opted out to like work,
to actually do good stuff. To me, and again, everyone, it's so funny listening to these podcasts. We fully support their decision to do what's best for them and their family. They had a conversation with their family. What's best for me? It's like, come on, guys. All right, if you want to opt out, fine, opt out. To me, and again, maybe I'm the crazy guy. I would rather be around people that are tested every day in my environment. And they've had 56 positive tests, and those guys are immediately quarantined. They have the tracing, whatever. To me, living your life in the real world in a weird way is almost dangerous, because asymptomatic people aren't getting tested, where in this environment, in the NFL environment, every dude is getting tested every single day. To me, that feels way safer. But again, whatever you got to do.
Yeah. I mean, as long I just believe the NFL will find a way to not fuck this up like baseball.
Well, but again, did baseball fuck it up? Because you could make a good argument that the protocols are working. The two teams that broke the protocols, the Marlins and the Cardinals. Yeah, they went outside the protocols. Yeah, they got COVID. You can't go to a casino.
You can't allow that to happen, though, is my point. And the NFL knows that if that happens, like it's.
Well, and I think the NFL has the benefit of these games are every week. And and it's not every day, so I think it'll be easier to weed out.
I think they have the benefit of seeing that baseball fucked this up.
Yes,
I think that was a big step. Anyway, do we go through the schedule now, Sean?
Let's do it, Kramer.
As you mentioned, they were 12-4 last year. They went over their total of 10.5. This season, they're 11.5. Over is -140. That's tough. That's Patriots-esque. Plus 110 on the under, Sean. -400 to win the division.
Wow.
3-1 to win the conference. 6-1 to win the Super Bowl. I just don't know who's betting that. I mean, I guess the argument is, who's going to take them down in the AFC? And it's like, I don't know, but I've watched enough football to know someone will. Well,
you just watch their run. Any three of those teams that they beat in the playoffs could have beat them fairly easily.
And I think this perception that the division, there's no one that's going to contend in this division. I think I think if anything, this is the strongest the division has been in some time, and that the Chiefs are not walking away with 5 division wins this year. 4, I don't know. All right, let's do it. Houston on Thursday Night Football, as you mentioned, -12 at home at Arrowhead.
It's already up to 12.
10 at Los Angeles. get week 2 against the Chargers at Baltimore on Monday night. There's that rematch you wanted to see. Week 3 they played last week as well on Monday night, and week 4 against the Patriots. The schedule gods did not give the Chiefs a nice starting point. On one hand, you mentioned the continuity that could help them early in this season, but boy, they are definitely playing a tough set of teams here. What do you got them going, Sean?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. Part of me wants to say 2-2, but then again, I remember Andy Reid, the continuity. If anyone's preparing their team for this weird season and able to figure out what to do and get them going with a limited prep time, I think it is Andy Reid. So I'll go 3-1.
Yeah. See, I think this is a tough stretch, and I think they'll probably. I know we just talked about it. The home road thing doesn't really matter, but I'm gonna say 2-2 because I think they're gonna drop a game, and it's gonna surprise us. I think it's like it's gonna be something weird, like New England beats them. Like Cam Newton runs for 250 yards.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of Patriots offense they actually run, and if they're using Cam in a lot of design runs, that'll be exciting.
Let's maintain the hot take. 1-3.
Oh my God, Kramer!
Oh my God!
It's so hot right now.
Damn reckless over here.
Weeks 5 through 7, or I'm sorry, 8. Las Vegas Raiders at home, at Buffalo on Thursday night, at Denver, and then with a little bit of rest there, and then Jets at home. I mean, this is a little bit more generous. I'm going to go 3-1.
3-1. Yeah, I mean, the Raiders, not high on the Raiders. That game in Buffalo on the short week, that's going to be super tough. But Jets and in Denver, you got some elevation issues. But I'll 3-1 feels right.
I didn't mention this earlier, but they do have the 6th toughest schedule according to DVOA. Next 4, Carolina at home, bye week, at Las Vegas, at Tampa, Denver at home.
I'm going to go 2-2 here, even though they have that bye week, and certainly they'll be good coming off the bye against the Raiders. But I think 2-2 here, and I wouldn't be surprised. That game in Tampa could be a little tougher than people think. But yeah, 2-2.
I'm going to also go 2-2. I just, they're going to lose some games they shouldn't. Last 4, at Miami, at New Orleans, Atlanta at home, and the Chargers at home. I think I'm going to have them finish 3-1, Sean.
I got to go 3-1 there. So what do I have them going 11-5? That sounds right.
11-5 for you.
Yep.
I have them going 9-7.
Jesus Christ. Right. So yeah, I mean, that feels right to me. Chiefs under, you're getting plus odds. You lose it if they end up winning 12 games, which I think they got 5 losses.
Should I maybe, you know what? I'll adjust that first 4. No, I like the hot take aspect.
Go for it. Stay hot, Ryan.
You know what? I'm going to give them 3-1 in the third sector. Make them 10-6.
So just to clarify, you have the Chargers going 11-5, Chiefs now 10-6.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I like it. The hot take continues.
It's not hot though. It's going to be. I mean, I don't know if you're aware, but you're listening to this. You probably already know that Jason Day, leader after the first round,
co-leader,
but I still want a
25-1. That's nothing to
football. And what better?
We got to get our shit going mentally.
John Gruden and the Las Vegas Raiders coming off a 7-9 season where they went over their win total of 6.5, which I know is disappointing to you and me, Ryan. We were both on the under of the Raiders, but it's insane. Like they have so many regression factors. It's crazy. They were 4th
hardest schedule according to DVOA. That's one.
And they had like the 8th easiest last year.
21st easiest according to DVOA.
Sorry, yeah.
Or 21st hardest.
Yeah, I think we're in the similar quoting of that. They were 7-3 in 1-score games, so every one of their wins was in a 1-score game. And this is a crazy
not
stat.
Sustainable.
6 of their 16 games were against backup quarterbacks, and even in those 6 gifts that they were given, they were only 3-3. Now, again, the same reason why I like the Chiefs and Mahomes. I don't think they're going to go over 11.5, but still high on them because of Reid and Patrick Mahomes. you can say the exact opposite about this Raiders team.
Yeah.
John Gruden and Derek Carr. I mean, I'm out on John Gruden.
What do you mean?
I think he's like a decent.
What do you mean you're out on John Gruden?
He's more of a caricature, but I think he's like, okay, like, all right, he can do some things okay, but really he's just.
I prepared a reading.
He's just not meant for the
great
modern,
John Gruden,
the modern game.
Sean,
yes,
everybody has dreams right now, don't they, guys? All right, everyone in the NFL. I have a dream of making it in the NFL. I got a dream of winning a Super Bowl. I got a dream of being in the Pro Bowl. I'm really not into dreams anymore. Okay. I'm into fucking nightmares. You've got to end somebody's dream. You've got to take their job. You've got to take their heart. How are you out on that guy, Sean?
He is just a classic motivator, and he decided to motivate his team by faking the fact that he had coronavirus, which is just an all-time.
Why I don't understand.
All-time football guy move.
Get our shit going mentally.
He did
it's real.
He did a prank and scared everyone, and they had like the assistant coach say,
"Oh my god,
John isn't here. He's in the hospital. He got COVID. It's real serious." And then he just like
fucking dumbass football guys.
That would be. If he should have went the extra mile and had his boy who does the impressions of him. I'm fucking
Caliendo, baby.
He should have had Caliendo do like a Skype from a hospital bed, like, "Hey, you guys got to win it for old Gruden here."
Go
and then
get one for the giver.
I guess he was doing that to teach these players that COVID-19 is serious. He said he quote we want to beat this virus into the ground. So again, he's already calling out COVID-19 early and often. Now, a lot of people disrespect Derek Carr, and I'm certainly one of them. I like to make fun of Derek Carr, and Derek Carr seems to have this chip on his shoulder where like, yeah, you guys stop disrespecting Derek Carr. He had this, that he is quote, Kobe Bryant is the reason that I played when I broke the 3 bones in my back. I learned from him that determination to not let your teammates down. Derek Carr is honoring his idol this season and channeling the Mamba mentality. You know what Mamba wouldn't do? Throw the ball away on 4th down. No. He would not. He would throw the ball past the sticks on 3rd down.
Get the fuck out of here.
Which is Derek Carr's problem. Completed air yards per attempt was 4.9, 35th at the 39 quarterbacks. And listen, I don't like Derek Carr, and it's very obvious John Gruden doesn't like Derek Carr. That's a team you just gotta fade.
First of all, Kobe trying to explain the concept of throwing the ball out of bounds on 4th down to Kobe Bryant would make his brain explode.
You think Kobe Bryant would throw the ball out of bounds?
Do you know who thinks highly of Derek Carr? David Carr, his brother, who once put him number 4 in the NFL at quarterback. I was going to get to something. And now I lost that point, but I'm with you. I mean, Derek Carr, while he is the owner of a 12-4 season, the only winning season the Raiders have had since 2002, and he does seem like he could be a John Gruden spider banana quarterback. He's just trash. And they brought in Mariota. Like if is Gruden trying to play mind games with Derek Carr by bringing in Marcus Mariota? What is he doing?
I think no, it's just as simple as he doesn't think Derek Carr is that good, but he wants to be able to bench him, and I think he will at some point in this season. That's my lock right here, is that Derek Carr will not make it through the season as a starter. They were 31st in DVOA last year. That should come up a little bit as far as the defense. I do like them getting Corey Littleton. Their defensive line was bottom 5 in a lot of categories. Farrell didn't do much.
Well, he should have been a top 5 pick. But they brought in Paul Gunther to run the defense. He brought the defense from 30th to 31st last year. That in DVOA, that's really good.
But yeah, I mean, Josh Jacobs, he's good. Darren Waller had kind of a really nice year last year, breakout year. So they have some skill guys, and again, they won some games I didn't think they were going to win. So maybe not as low as you would think, but I don't know, man. They just don't seem like a 500 team.
I have some fun numbers. They were first half offensive DVOA. They were 3rd. Second half offensive DVOA, 22nd. What does that tell you? Their coach is stuck in the mud. He doesn't know how to adjust. I think I think teams are. I think teams are seeing and reacting to Gruden's offense, and I think it's not going to change this year. While they do have some talent floating around, I don't think it's enough. They do have some positive regression candidates. Only 8.9% of their drives on defense ended with a turnover. They did have a lot of defensive turnover, but coming back to my red zone defensive DVOA metric, they were 24th last year. I don't see any reason why this defense is going to jump drastically out of the basement. Perhaps they become like, to me, their ceiling this year is a below average defense. And when you have an offense that no longer has Amari Cooper, but still has Derek Carr, right? That 12-4 season, they had Khalil Mack and Amari Cooper. Imagine trying to explain that to someone who came to this country after the year 2016. Amari Cooper and Khalil Mack, arguably elite players at their positions, both on the Raiders, but John Gruden and Mike Mayock, they had to get rid of them. So I don't know. Last thing I'll say is the only teams that throw the ball down the field less than the Raiders last year were the Saints and the 49ers. So that's not a category you want to be in.
No.
And I think that we know objectively at this point that vertical air yards is a correlated number, a correlated statistic to offensive efficiency. Sure, the Saints did it. They're the outlier. That offense is the outlier of how you can do that.
And you want to,
it's not an indicator.
You want to talk X factors. They signed Jason Witten.
No.
Now Jason Witten, he has been,
don't get me started. This guy,
he is like on boat trip potential because the Cowboys signed him first off, he went to Monday Night Football, destroyed Monday Night Football. They got rid of him. Then he went to the Cowboys. Cowboys start off hot, fall apart, go 8-8. Don't win the division, don't make the playoffs. And now he's going to Las Vegas. This guy is giving you a run for the FML tour, the Jason Witten FML tour. And maybe your Jason Day first round win of the PGA Championship was enough to shake off your FML tour and put it on Jason Witten.
This is,
and again, another just ultimate jinx guy you don't want on your team. Nelson Aguilar. They brought in Nelson Aguilar, Jason Witten, couple other guys like we mentioned, Mariota.
Throw him out. Eli Apple, that's another cancer. Remember him?
Don't want him on your team. Corey Littleton, I think that was a decent signing. Linebacker. Who else do they got? Jeff Heath, safety.
Prince Amukamara, he's all right. I don't know.
He's not doing a ton for you. Carl Nassib, again, probably overpaid for him. Edge rusher. Okay, it's fine. Jerry Jeudy though, I think will be a bright spot. The draft pick. He's a speedster.
Judy's the Bronco.
Oh, sorry, Henry Ruggs. Henry Ruggs. He's a speedster. The problem is I don't know if Derek Carr can get the ball to him deep, and I think that will be the issue. Maybe he gets some screenplays, whatever. But I do. Ruggs will be fun to watch. Hopefully he has some big plays there. Who'd they lose? Carl Joseph, safety, cornerback Daryl Worley, and safety Curtis Riley. So their defensive secondary and defense in general wasn't great last year. And I don't know if they've brought in enough to kind of even it out.
Well, and the narrative here is there's a lot of churn here, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So while defense does tend to be possess more variance year to year, there's no real reason. I mean, this team finished 30th overall in defense in 2018, 31st last year. Like I mentioned, 24th in red zone defense. I don't see a path to them getting out of the bottom 8. And if they can't have a even below average defense, they're not going to have enough offensive success. And then I think the last sprinkle here is that Gruden's just the game's passed them by. I think his style, his methods won't work. And you can see what he's attempted to do here by bringing in guys like Witten, bringing in vets, bringing in older guys, tone setting guys. I just don't think it's going to work when your quarterback's a pussy. And you have two pussies at quarterback. I like Marcus Mariota. He's a pussy too. I know dudes from Hawaii are generally tough. He's not one of them.
He's not Hawaii strong. And throw in the factor we haven't even mentioned. They're moving from Oakland to Las Vegas. I mean, do you really want to be moving when all this COVID shit is happening? Do you really want to be like finding a house in Las Vegas right now and dealing with all that stuff? It just seems like
there's no way Gruden actually understands what coronavirus is.
No,
he thought he was in an SNL.
Well, he thought you can beat it to death, which is an interesting strategy. Just imagine him like Robert De Niro in The Irishman, where he curb stomps that guy. That's That's what we need to get a.
Whoa, spoiler alert, Sean. Jesus.
Well, yeah, you're the one person who hasn't watched The Irishman. If we can get a Photoshop request to anyone listening of John Gruden. Oh, and you could do any curb stomping scene you'd like from any movie or any like beatdown scene of John Gruden, and then maybe like superimpose the coronavirus head on someone that John Gruden's beating up. That would be pretty awesome. Tweet that in at Gambling Podcast.
Gruden's gonna go home and beat his dick like it's the coronavirus.
You're gonna owe some money. All right, let's get to the schedule, Ryan.
Oh man. See, we went into this and we have to be really aware of the time. It's football. It's really easy to talk about football for a while, Sean. We are.
Is this a mega podcast?
We're back in mid-season form.
We're putting up Colby Dant numbers.
We're approaching. I think we're closing in on hour 2. At Carolina, New Orleans on Monday night. At New England, Buffalo at home.
1-3.
Jesus Christ! 1-3. Fuck.
That's going to be a really weird opening of the stadium with no fans.
But it's still Vegas. Like, how are they going to? What is the lockdown procedure if you're a team going to Vegas?
That is also true. I mean,
step one, you stay in like Boulder City or something, or you stay in like Henderson.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah,
maybe you even stay like stay in Baker.
Although I could see Corona hitting Barstow pretty hard. If you're an NFL team, just get like a Howard Johnson's in Barstow, and it's a 2-hour drive from there on a team bus. I think that's the move. Don't let the players stay anywhere near. And mybookie.ag has they have some like the special bets over there, and one of them, of course, is let me see here.
Don't say this is. Are we wagering on?
No, they had oh shit, sorry, I just had it, but they had like first team to have a game canceled because of coronavirus. I think Las Vegas Raiders certainly could be in the mix there, as they're in Las Vegas.
And shout out to mybookie.ag. They now have dark mode.
Here's what I got going for my lock.
Whoa, what, already throwing locks?
No
out?
Games canceled in the 2021 season, plus 700.
Oh,
love that.
Wait, the season being canceled is 4-1. What the fuck's wrong with MyBookie? Why would they even throw that out?
Don't throw that mojo out there. Lock it up. No games canceled. All right, Kramer.
You can also bet on. We should have touched on this earlier, but Patrick Mahomes Super Bowls won during his contract. Over under 2.5.
I'd go under, but
I mean 2 more in the next 10 years.
3 is a lot.
He's already got 1 though.
No, but that's not on the. I think they're talking about the new contract he just signed.
That would be
so. Tough. That would be 4 total.
All right.
Let's do it.
So we're
Kramer.
both at 1-3.
1-3 for the first 4.
Next 4 at Kansas City. Bye week.
No,
early.
you missed Broncos at home.
What do you mean I missed Broncos at home?
Oh wait, sorry, I was on the wrong thing.
Yeah, of course you were. I have the schedule in front of me, Sean. At Kansas City, bye week. Tampa Bay at home. At Cleveland. They're not. I don't see them winning. Man, Josh Jacobs would have to have a monster game for them to win that week 5. The early bye week. I don't think this is a team that needs the early bye week. Maybe they reset. Maybe this is where Mariota comes in.
But we're in these 4 games. Oh, sorry, you still have 1 more to go.
And then at Chargers.
In these,
no, I don't because oh yeah, I do.
In these 4 games, which one of these games are they favored?
I mean they're not favored,
right?
Depending on what's going on in Cleveland, probably not favored.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 1-3 again. I just don't see it with this team. And again, that's what I said last year, and they went 7-9.
They got extremely lucky. I don't.
But yeah, like and kind of pulling the season out of their ass. They went over a half game of their total last year,
and they're I don't think I threw out their prices, Sean. But yeah, they went over 6.5. This year they're 7.5, minus 120 on the over, minus 110 on the under, plus 950 for the division, through 30-1 for the conference, 50-1 for the Super Bowl. And just to pile on, 5.2 was their expected wins last year. So they got lucky winning 7. Lots of reason for them to come back to earth. Next 4, Denver, Kansas City, at Atlanta, at Jets.
I'll go 2-2. But again, that feels generous. I think they win one of those division games and one of those road games. But really, 2-2 is like, I'm stretching. because they could lose all those games.
Yeah, I think I'll go with. You know what? I'm going to stick with you, Sean. 2-2. I think they actually beat Kansas City here. I think that's going to be a weird one. Andy Reid in Vegas. A lot of sin opportunities.
Well, the buffets are closed, so that's a huge win for him.
Room service buffets, I've heard.
Come on, and Andy doesn't sin. He's a Mormon.
Indianapolis, week 14 at home. Chargers on Thursday night, short week at home. Miami on Saturday at home, week 16, and then at Denver. That's a fairly nice close to the season, Sean.
I'll go 2-2.
I'm gonna go 3-1 here.
Really?
I think they random. Yeah. No. Let's. Yeah. God damn it. No, I'll go 2-2. I think 6-10 just sounds right.
Yeah. So we both got him going 6-10.
That's a Raiders finishing record.
That feels like a perfect Las Vegas Raiders. Oh man, so jacked. All right, Kramer, let's throw out a lock for our win total, and then maybe any sort of props you like. I'll let you go first.
I mean, it feels dirty taking the Chargers over 7.5 minus 160, but I had them winning 11 games, Sean. I would say this. I'll if you're making me bet totals for every team, the Broncos is definitely a lean towards the under, but that one is I'm very neutral on because I want to root for the Broncos. I would say Chiefs under, Chargers over, Raiders under. And I would say the lock is the Chargers for sure. So
Chargers over is the lock. And
I do like the Raiders under as well, though.
And then, well, are you doing two locks?
Yeah, if I can throw both of those out there.
Okay, Raiders under. And then, what do you do? Do you have any futures you'd like to throw out?
Well, based on the price, if you like the Chargers as much as I do, you have to sprinkle 9-1. You have to sprinkle 9-1. I for them to be 22-1 to win the conference. And 9-1 to win their own division. That feels
a little disparity, a little value.
So I would say sprinkle that one. And I don't know. I didn't see it. I looked for it, Sean. I don't know if they have the will make the playoffs props.
I was able to track them down. Who do you like here? Do you like the Chargers to make the playoffs?
What is the price on the Raiders the Chargers to make the playoffs? If that's around even money, yes, please.
Chargers to make the playoffs. I'm seeing a price at plus 120.
Oh, yes, please. What about the Raiders?
Raiders not to make the playoffs is minus 280.
Oh, that's dangerous.
So you have Chargers to make the playoffs plus 120.
I'm going all in on the Chargers. Fuck.
Chargers division plus 900.
Yep.
Okay. Mine's pretty simple. Broncos over, Raiders under. Those are the two win totals I really like for my future. Give me Broncos make the playoffs. I mean, we got 7 teams getting into the playoffs. Plus 170 for the Broncos.
That's a good bet.
They get to 8-8, 9-7. I think because you could very easily push the win total and still hit that plus 170, make the playoff. And yeah, that's what I'm feeling. Man, feels so great to have football back. Make sure you subscribe to our NBA gambling podcast feed. You can get that on Apple, Spotify, wherever great podcasts are downloaded, and our soccer gambling podcast feed, both available as well.
Sean, and we got a new show coming.
We do have a new show coming. Do you have the trailer ready?
I do have the trailer ready.
Let's take a listen to a new show that's going to be dropping on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network.
I'm Kyle Watnell.
I'm Mark Glass.
And this music is oddly romantic.
I'm down though.
We are the hosts of the new show, About That Action, coming soon to the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. We are 2 former collegiate athletes,
D3 hooligans,
and now we work in the business of sports,
aka douchebags.
We are here to use our insider sports business knowledge to optimize your picks.
Probably illegal.
We'll also share some never-before-heard stories from inside the world of professional sports.
Chugging tequila with Jason Garrett.
We're here to have some fun and make you some cash.
I'm down to my last dollars.
So tune in for episode 1 of About That Action, coming soon to SGPN.
I'll tell you what, I want to hear about chugging tequila with Jason Garrett, because now that I'm in on Jason Garrett, I want to make sure he's a good guy. He's a wise guy. And if he's chugging tequila with some college kids,
hey,
that's a fine line.
Sounds like a fun podcast. Stay tuned to the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. And again, keep sending in those reviews. Appreciate you guys doing that. That's been fun. And you know what, Ryan?
We love reviews.
Before we go, we had a particularly strong review that I'm going to pull up right now that I think is worthy.
Would you like me to read it in my Das Bundesliga?
Sure, if you'd like.
I think we're talking about the same one.
Yes,
right?
the 3%er.
Oh, I have to pull it up on my screenshot, but I will definitely do that.
But yeah, whoever sent in this 3% review, her name is Hannah.
All right, 5 stars. Hannah Giovanna or Giovanna from the 3% with some sort of female emoji. My fiance hosts a fantasy league every year and welcomed me to join. Probably was just being nice, but here I am, year 3. He started listening to Sean Stacking the Money Green and Ryan Real Money Kramer, and because we own a business, travel, and spend most of our time together, I started listening to them as well. I can honestly say this is one of my favorite podcasts. I may not always know what they're talking about, but the information is always helpful. So much so, I beat out 11 guys, including my fiance, who maybe he needs to start hanging out with Jason Garrett here. And I won our league last year. To the 3%, with the help of SGP, this can be your year. I love the advertisement. I love that she's being so optimistic, rounding up the 3%. Everyone knows it's 2%. 2% and 1% non-specified. So we're just going to say those are female as well. Assuming they identify female. Shout out to this. Shout out to Hannah. Hopefully I nailed it.
And Hannah, make sure you hit us up, podcast at sportsgamblingpodcast.com. We'll hook you up with some gear, some merch that we have at our merch store, because we do have lady gear as well.
We have lady gear.
Again, I don't know if they like it being called lady gear, but Hannah seems cool.
Thank you for participating in the Sports Gambling Podcast.
And for the Sports Gambling Podcast, I'm Sean, Stacking the Money Green, and he is Ryan.
Oh, football's back, Sean
Kramer. Let it ride.